I'm Alisha Jared at Alisha Jared Hair Artistry, and welcome to BTC University. Today, I'm going to be showing you a classic look for the modern bride. So in conducting a consultation, it typically starts out via email, and that's where the inquiry is sent, and we loosely go over the details of what the style inspiration is. Typically when my bride comes in 6 to 8 weeks before her wedding day, we will re-go over the consultation. I will look at her hair type, her density, her texture, and we will decide if the style we had previously spoke about will work for her. We will talk about if the style is pulled completely back off of her face, if she's comfortable having all of her hair back off of her face, or if she wants face frame pieces left down. Basically, we completely redo the consultation that we had already done via email, but it's nice to be able to gauge what is possible and what's not possible in person. If a bride comes to me for her trial and the style that she has chosen is just not possible for her hair type, it's not gonna look good with her hair color, her hair texture, what I will do is I will either pull up my Instagram, which is essentially my lookbook, and I will have her go through with me, and I will pick styles similar to what her inspiration was, but that will work better for her hair type. Or we will go on Pinterest and I will say, okay, you know, you have fine blonde hair. What really will work for you is this type of style. Or if she shows me a picture of her dress and the style that she has chosen completely like competes with her dress or covers up a specific part of her dress that she maybe wants to highlight, we kind of adjust and go from there. If she has a super low back dress and we want to highlight that, we'll go for a side style. So this is where I make all my adjustments. I wouldn't say all my adjustments, I make about 75% of my adjustments, then we do the style that we talked about, and then we adjust again from there. When it comes to extensions, I will say probably 75% or more styles that you see on Pinterest or on Instagram, they do include extensions. So for me, I don't provide extensions to my brides. I will recommend brands of clip-in extensions. I will help them source them. I will talk to them about their options of clip-in versus permanent. I will say I typically err on the side of I would rather work with clip-ins for a bridal style than permanently installed extensions, because I have the freedom to move them where I want to rather than be committed to where they already are. So I do help my brides. I recommend brands of extensions. I just don't personally provide them, or I don't take them shopping for their extensions. I will typically tell them if they need help color matching, they should ask their stylist, their colorist for their formula, and then they can come back to me with their formula. But really that is more of a job for their colorist. And that brings us to how soon before their style should they get their hair cut and colored. And I would say to follow their typical 6 to 8 week highlight balayage schedule, whatever it is. I always tell them, please don't make any drastic changes to cut and color within 6 to 8 weeks of your wedding, because that just leads to disaster. So just have them keep following their typical 6 to 8 week touch-up schedule with their colorist. So if someone comes to me and has permanently installed extensions, that really limits what we are able to do. So depending on what type of install they have, if they have K-tip or I-tip extensions, that's more movable, and we can kind of work with that, and they're easier to hide. If they have a beaded weft extension that runs, and it's permanently installed at a certain point in their head, we can't do a style that's any higher than that. So we're, at the mercy of gravity, and you have to do a style that sits lower than those extensions. So like I said, that really limits what we're able to do. And in that case, I just, you have to be honest with them. You can only do what you can do. So that is when we kind of go back to the drawing board and I show them maybe 3 different styles that they are able to achieve with the install that they have, and we kind of go from there. As an independent stylist, I don't have a team, I don't have an assistant, so showing up on site to a wedding can be pretty stressful, and time matters. I typically take about 30 minutes per bridesmaid, and I give myself an hour for the bride. Doesn't necessarily mean I take the entire hour, but at least I have the time, and she feels a little bit more pampered than everyone else. It's important to prep quickly, but not cut corners, because then you won't be able to achieve the style that you're going for. There are ways that you can cut corners to save time, but that doesn't necessarily mean you always should. So I'll show you the quickest, most effective way to prep her hair for this modern style. One of the biggest struggles about being a freelance stylist is being uncertain of what you're going to show up to. I have gotten brides ready in hotel rooms, which is probably the most common. I've been in laundry rooms, I've been in bathrooms of their homes, and you never quite know what situation that you're walking into. So being able to organize your products in order of use really helps to keep me running efficiently. However, you won't always have a ton of space to spread your things out. So in that case, if I'm working in a really small space, sometimes too many products and too many irons out at once just causes more conflict and confusion. So I will pull things out of my kit as I go. The night before a wedding day, I contact my bride and I reiterate that I want her to come with clean, dry hair. That means no product from her reception or her rehearsal, no I got a blowout 2 days ago and I think it's fine. I want freshly washed within 24 hours, clean, dry hair. So every stylist will do this differently, but I start prepping from the bottom up. I also start most of my styles from the bottom up. It's just how my brain kind of works. I'm able to, envision the style the entire way through. So I take probably, on the bottom, I'm always envisioning my end result. And on the bottom, I know that's all going to get made into, a loose, low bun. I don't need a ton of texture in it. So this is the point where I'm going to cut as many corners as I can, and that's curling with a flat iron. That tends to be the quickest for me, but I'm also making sure that I'm thinking about which way I will eventually twist her hair, which is going to be inward. So I want to make sure that I essentially split her hair in half and I curl the left side toward the middle and then the right side toward the middle. So at the end, I'm not fighting with the texture that I've put in to finish her style. I'm also making sure that I go all the way through her ends. I want her ends to have some bend to them and not be stuck out straight. That's one of the main differences in a more boho relaxed style and a more classic style is there's not a lot of pieces left out in a classic style. It's a very structured shape and it's very put together. So you want to make sure that you're efficiently curling, but curling completely all the way through. When it comes to prepping a bride's hair, sometimes less product is more. If you put too much product on the hair while you're prepping, you're going to just make it incredibly hard on yourself to get the end style. So when using products during prep, just use a small amount, as small as you can. So I just sprayed a little bit of heat protectant on her hair. Make sure that when you're using products during your prep work, you're choosing light, buildable products, nothing too heavy, nothing too sticky. So I'm just continuing to take sections just as wide as my flat iron, as wide and as thick, probably 1 inch by 1 inch, and just keep on curling and making sure that my curls go inward. When I get to the middle of her head is when I will switch and curl the other side in this way. So she has fine blonde hair. She has a lot of hair, so her density is high, but each individual strand of her hair is very fine. Sometimes you will have a hard time getting that type of hair to hold a curl. So my suggestion for that is taking a dry texture spray. Knowing your end result, you want to spray from above and go downward, and I'll talk more about why later on that. But a dry texture spray can really help curls to hold longer. I prefer working with a dry texture spray for that purpose rather than a hairspray to avoid the stickiness that sometimes comes with a lot of hairsprays. So continuing to take about 1 inch thick sections, I'm just spraying a little bit of texture spray. I'm about to like the parietal ridge of her hair, and this is where I want to start getting more volume at the base of her hair, and I care a little bit more about the texture because in the end, the top is kind of the showstopper in this style. So the bottom you can prep kind of quickly, but once you get to the parietal ridge, that's when you're going to want to start taking, your time, and each curl, it really does matter what it turns out like. So you're kind of done cutting corners at this point. However, curling with a flat iron, if you're good at it, is still the most efficient and quick way to prep this style.